See, in 1990, Joel Barker wrote a book. It's called Paradigms. He said to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, I had no idea what a paradigm was. And you might ask yourself, do you really know what a paradigm is? Do you understand how the mind works? Because the paradigm has something to do with the mind. I knew nothing about it. And the man that encouraged me to study this put me on a track where I just kept going from one great mentor to another. A paradigm is nothing but a multitude of ideas that are fixed in the subconscious mind. And so here we are, as hard as it is to believe, 20, 30, 50, 60 years later, school gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us anything about paradigms. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. Now think, superior knowledge, think about it. Inferior results, what does that do? That causes confusion and frustration. Now think about this for a moment. We've gathered great knowledge, but we know nothing about the paradigm. So watch here. Here's the drawing. There's the model. There's all the knowledge we got in school. We've got it packed in there. But you know something? It doesn't equate to the results we're getting. You're going to find absolutely brilliant people getting very bad results. You're going to find people that are brilliant. They know exactly what to do, but they don't do it. Why? It's the paradigm that controls the behavior.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because the thing that saved me as an entrepreneur was watching the stories of other successful entrepreneurs, and I learned from their advice, I learned from their motivation, and honestly, I have no idea where I would be if I didn't have those videos to inspire me. I still need them for myself today too, and I hope that they can inspire you as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Bob Proctor, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is earn more money.
I want to talk to you about money, about earning more money. And I don't care what profession you happen to be in. It really makes little difference as far as the subject is concerned. I have learned, this is an educated opinion, it's something I've learned over a long period of time, that the earning of more money is only about 5% strategy, 95% mindset. Now, why do I say that? Well, I was given this book when I didn't have a nickel to my name, Think and Grow Rich. My life has changed dramatically since then. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Then I got a hold of Robert Russell's book, You Too Can Be Prosperous. Here's an original copy from 1915 of Wallace Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich. Now, The Science of Getting Rich is the book that inspired Rhonda Byrne to make The Secret, which has been seen over 500 million people all over the world. And you know, none of these books spend much time talking about money. They almost spend all of their time talking about you, the reader, and your mindset. You see, I know a lot of wealthy people. I have earned millions of dollars in my lifetime, and not by accident, and it's not that I was done well in school. I went to high school for 2 months. And I've met many people who have earned millions of dollars who have no formal education. Earning a lot of money is not luck. Earning a lot of money is really getting your mindset. You've got to know your worth and then ask for what you deserve. Hill points out in here, he said, if you believe hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought it's not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Now listen carefully. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. Yeah, you've heard the old saying, find a need and fill it. A definite demand. And then based upon definite principles. Well, these 3 books that I've just recommended, and I've got a whole library of them behind me, they all focus on filling a demand. So you've got to start off by knowing what you're worth. Eric Hoffer put it very well. He said, to learn, you need a certain degree of confidence. Not too much and not too little. If you have too little confidence, you'll think you can't learn. If you have too much, you'll think you don't have to learn. Now, I run into people every day who fall into both of those categories, And I suppose we all fall into both those categories more often than we'd like to. We've got to have that certain degree of confidence. Know what you're worth. And always be prepared to do more than you're being paid for. Now, that is one of Hill's principles. Always be prepared to do more than you're being paid for. And be prepared to walk away from anything that is not serving you. Now, you've got to provide the service, but if the job is not serving you, or if something is not serving you, walk away from it. And make up your mind you're going to be a leader. You see, money is a reward received for service rendered. Be prepared to do more than you're being paid for. That is something that all successful people will tell you. Fall in love with what you're doing. Fill the demand. But build the image in your mind that you're worth it. Know what you are worth. You are God's highest form of creation. There is nothing on the planet that will equal you. You might get a hold of these 3 books and study them. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. You Too Can Be Prosperous by Robert Russell. Those books are both out of print, but you can find them. And of course, the one that's always on my desk, Think and Grow Rich.
Rule number 3 is keep studying.
What are some habits that you do differently that maybe are unexpected in the personal growth space?
I study every day. Every day. I've studied every day now for 60 years. I started to study this book in 1961, and I read it every day. The same book, Think and Grow Rich. I have just here behind me, I've got the Laws of Success, the original ones that Napoleon Hill wrote in 1928. And then he came up with this in 1937. And the man that gave it to me, he said, if you'll study this every day, he said, you're going to have a wonderful life. And he pointed out Napoleon Hill spent his whole life studying the lives of 500 of the world's most successful people. He was mentored by Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was the wealthiest man in the world. And he said, since he spent his whole life putting this together, he said it would be a prudent move on your part if you spent the rest of your life trying to understand and apply what he was teaching. And,
right.
You know, that just seemed to make some sense to me, and that's what I started to do, and I've never stopped.
Rule number 4 is use the law of attraction.
The mind and the law of vibration are two things. When you start to understand them, everything starts to improve. When you really understand them, you take control of your life. You've been given the ability to do that. All you have to do is learn how. And I'm going to show you how here in the next 30 minutes. Let that drawing, that circle, represent your mind. There's 2 parts to it. If you notice that, there's a horizontal line right through the center. Let's put a body on it. We'll say that's the body and the top half is the mind, and we'll bring it down here to work with it. See, there you've got your conscious mind. Then you have your subconscious mind, and then the instrument of the mind, because that's what the body is. And the body moves into action and produces results. See, the body acts according to the vibration it's in. Not only are we getting the results we got, but we also have a picture in our mind, a dream. We've got this beautiful star that we want to shoot at. And you see, that dream is up there, but it's up there and it's on a different level. It's an invisible world. It's where only one person can see it, you. Only one person can see it, me. Earl Nightingale put it very well. I spent 5 years working with Earl. It was a marvelous experience. He said, this great dream, this surging, dynamic thing, invisible to all the world, except to the person who holds it, is responsible for every great advance of humankind. Now, you see, this is the world we relate to down here. This is the visible world, the physical world. And we live through our senses. We go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. We get a report card, and we let the report card tell us what kind of students we are. We graduate from school, and the report card becomes the balance sheet or the bank account. Let's understand that anything we see outside was originated inside. That's right. Now, it's the space here that we want to close. We want to understand how to close that space. How do we go from where we are to where we want to be? That's rather an interesting question. You see, this is where the attraction starts. It starts here in the non-physical world. Now, this is a mind game. You must understand the mind if you're really going to make it happen. And when you study this and start to understand it, then you attract according to the vibration you're in. And you'll start to understand that. You control the vibration. Your brain is an electronic switching station. As you activate brain cells, you alter the vibration you're in. As you alter the vibration, you alter what you attract into your life.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is focus on results.
I had a man sit down with me, and he did essentially what I'm going to do with you right now. He said, Bob, I want you to take a look at the results you're getting in your life. Really take a look at the results. And then he got me to think. He said, how do results happen, Bob? How do they actually happen? And I didn't know. He says, do results just happen? Well, of course, results don't just happen. And this is where the man approached me back in 1961. He said, I want to magnify the results that you're getting in your life. Really take a close look at it. Because he said people are just falling short in a couple of areas. And he pointed out that we're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. In other words, we got to stay focused and we've got to use our imagination to build the kind of world we really want. Now, I think that's what you want to do. That's what I want to do. I don't think you were looking for something to do when you sat down to watch this. You see, I believe that you do want to improve the quality of your life. And a man named Reese Stanford sat down with me a long time ago in 1961. And he put an R on a sheet of paper. And then he put an H. He said, Bob, that's happiness. He said, that represents health. And that represents wealth. Now, he said, I want you to look at those 3 areas of your life. Are you getting what you want to get? Are you doing what you want to do? He said, I'm going to tell you something about results. Results always tell the truth. By their fruits you'll know them. Results always tell the truth. You can kid yourself all over the place if you want, but look at the results. I have people, they'll tell me how much they know about this or about that. Take a look at the results. The results tell the truth. If you're playing golf, the scorecard tells the truth. You see? Now think. Your bank account tells the truth. Your sales tell the truth. Your position in life, the health of your body.
Rule number 6 is practice repetition.
What do you think are the 3 most difficult habits to develop that actually will support us for the most growth long term if we can take these habits on?
One of the things I think the most difficult is repetition of studying the same thing. I have a book here on my desk. It's in a book holder. And when I went to visit Earl Nightingale way back 1968, it was other than that, it was around 66. And I saw he had this book stand on his desk, and I asked him what it was. He said it was a book holder. And I said, why do you have it? He says, because I want to read those 2 pages every day for the next month, maybe 2 months. I said, really? The same thing. And he said, yeah. He said, then they'll become a part of me. And he said, that's really the secret of success is the repetition of an idea. You see that in sports. You play ball. I mean, it's definitely part of your game. And if a person will really understand that, it's through repetition that you program your subjective mind. And it's your subjective mind that controls your behavior. Doesn't make sense to some people, but if they would study it and start to understand it, they would start to do it.
Rule number 7 is overcome your anxiety.
I want you to imagine that there's a power flowing into your consciousness. This power flows to and through us, and it never stops. Now, when the power flows into our consciousness, we could call it thought power if you choose. You can think anything you want. You can think anything you want. No one can cause you to think something you don't want to think. Viktor Frankl spent the war years in a concentration camp. He was a Viennese psychiatrist. He wrote a marvelous book, Man's Search for Meaning, and it was on logotherapy. And he said, regardless of the intellectual or physical abuse he was subjected to, no one could cause him to think something he didn't want to think. Now, whatever thought you think, you turn over to your subconscious mind. But the subconscious mind is programmed. And again, I'm sorry, we don't have the time to get into paradigms the way we'd like to, but it is programmed. What we want to do is learn how to control the flow of this energy. We want to learn how to control the flow of thought energy and let it flow freely to and through us, improving everything with which it connects. You see, we're really in charge of our results. The results that we get in our life can be altered without any difficulty. Now, I keep apologizing for not being able to go into this in the depth I want to, but as I give you this concept, I want you to pay very close attention, because on a conscious level, you have a choice. You see those two symbols, one's negative, one's positive. Now, if we just back this up a bit, there is the power flowing in. You can think anything you want. You can choose to think of what you don't want, or you can choose to think of what you do want. You can look at what's wrong with life, or you can look at what's right with it. You do have a choice. That power, you can build it into anything you choose. Unfortunately, most people stay in an ignorant state. They never really understand themselves. Now, ignorance is simply not knowing. The opposite of ignorance, of course, is knowledge. Knowledge is readily available to us. Libraries are full of knowledge. Seminars today just dispense all kinds of knowledge. Some of it's very valuable, some of it may not be. But there's a lot of knowledge around about you, about what makes you tick and why you live the way you live. Now, we have a choice, and we can choose whatever we want. You can choose to think of what's wrong, or you can choose to think of what's right. Why would a person choose to worry and doubt? Well, if we back it up, the problem is ignorance. That is really the problem. They don't understand the situation. See, doubt and worry are both psychic diseases. It's plugged into a negative side of life. This power flows in. You can build anything out of it you want. And what do? We worry. Why do we worry? Well, there's not enough money to meet our needs. Or the things might not turn out the way we choose. We've got the ability to choose anything we want. Now, when we build a negative idea, and that's what we're doing, we're taking this power and building a negative idea, we impress that negative idea upon our subconscious mind. The subconscious is the emotional mind. So we're getting emotionally involved with a negative idea. That sets up a vibration called fear. Fear is a negative emotion. The cause of it, the primary cause, is ignorance, but the root cause then is worry or doubt. Now, when that fear is expressed, and it must be expressed through the body. See, it comes in, it has no form. We build an idea, a negative idea, and we impress it. That sets up fear. And when it expresses itself in anxiety. People do not enjoy anxiety. It causes all kinds of problems. Anxiety is not expressed. Anxiety is suppressed. It's suppressed. What happens when we suppress anxiety, when we bottle that energy up inside? It turns into depression. That's what happens.
Rule number 8 is develop self-discipline.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision. But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are. We have to make decisions. If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going. And when we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction. Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are. Now, I had something pretty interesting happen. When I committed to study this material every day and follow proven direction, the change that took place was enormous. And you know, it can be for you. Now, there's one thing that you absolutely require if you're going to make a big change, and that's discipline. See, without discipline, nothing happens. Now, I found that discipline is the ability to give ourselves a command and then follow it. Now, I'm going to suggest as we go through this, and I suggest you make some decisions. Don't look at somebody else and say, what are you going to do? To see what they're going to do has absolutely nothing to do with where you're going. It's what are you going to do? That's what really makes the difference.
Rule number 9 is build self-esteem.
What are some things you think people that in their teens or even in their 40s and 50s who don't have confidence yet, what are the things that we can be doing differently to gain confidence, to build self-esteem? Because I think this is one of the key factors of success is believing in yourself. It doesn't matter if the world believes in you if you don't believe in you.
Yeah.
What can we start to do to change that?
Well, I think a person has to start to study themselves. Most people know very little about themselves. They think they're their body. You're not a body. You have a body. And you have a marvelous mind. And when I first started to study this, I thought, studying the mind, that's for psychiatrists, psychologists, behavioral scientists. And the man that told me, he said, no, it's not. He says, that's for anybody. That's for little kids. And so I think as we start to understand something about our mind and something about our higher faculties, see, we're all programmed to live through our senses. We go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Well, I've got a little dog at home that can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. All the animals in the world, they're completely at home in their environment. They blend in. They operate by instinct, which is perfect. We had instinct removed, and we had higher faculties put in their place. And if we would study these and gain an understanding, your self-image would automatically start to improve. You have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. Those 6 faculties will give you the ability to create your own environment. See, we're totally disoriented in our environment, where all the other little creatures are completely at home in theirs. And we're disoriented in ours because we can create our own, but we don't know that. School doesn't teach us that. School is more interested in the development of your intellect than in the development of awareness. Like, a person doesn't earn $100,000 a year because they want 100 a year. They earn 100 a year because they're not aware of how to earn 100 a month. Awareness is really the key. And when we become aware of who we are and what we've got working for us, marvelous things start to happen to us. And that's really what happened to me. I never went back to school. I built a very successful company. It operates all over the world. I didn't do it myself. I have a tremendous team of people. I've got just an absolute genius of a business partner, a woman who's an attorney. I mentioned to you before, you should have her on sometime. You'd be fascinated with her. She's that interesting. But it was a group of people. We've attracted a phenomenal group of people in our company. Mm-hmm. And we're operating now in 91 countries.
Wow. Teaching
this information. I don't know another company that teaches what we teach. Like, I think Tony Robbins has probably done more for our industry than any individual. The Secret has probably done more for it, as much as Tony has, the movie. But I don't know anybody else teaching what we're teaching. And what we're really doing is teaching people how their mind functions and how to expand their understanding of how it operates.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is live the life you want.
Why most people don't get what they want out of life? Is it...
Well, they don't know what they want.
That's right.
You see, I got this, and then I got Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of this on a long playing record. And I'd listen to that record over and over and over again. One day,
I was in the business, in the cleaning business. I had salespeople. And I had them listen to this record. Every morning we listened to this record. And one day I said, you know, I'd love to meet him. And I didn't know who Earl Nightingale was. He was a voice on a record. That was it. I didn't even know where he lived. And a young guy that worked with me, he said, no, you wouldn't. He said, if you wanted to meet him, you'd go and meet him. I thought, damn, he's right. So I phoned, and I got an appointment with him. Now, at the time, he was the most listened to man in the history of the broadcasting industry. He was a radio broadcaster. And not an easy guy to get to, but I got to meet with him for an hour. I flew to Chicago, and I spent an hour with him. And when I was leaving, I said, Earl, what's the big deal, you know? I mean, what's it all about? He said, there's no big deal. He said, it's very simple. He says, simply decide what you love to do and then dedicate your life to it. He said, the problem with most people, they don't know what they love to do. They never take the time to sit and ask themselves. What they're doing is trying to, I think I can get earn good money here. I could do it. You know, it's where can they earn some money? It's not what they love to do. Well, I was sitting there. Now, I had offices all over the place. I had a lot of people. I was earning a lot of money. And I got excited because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he was doing. And I made up my mind sitting in his office. That'd be somewhere around 1965. That I was going to go back and I was going to work with him. And in 1968, I moved to Chicago. I left my own company. I moved to Chicago and I started to work with him.
The average individual is self-serving. They're always focused on themselves. I want you to just pay conscious attention today. Write a little note maybe that you fold up and carry in your hand. Why do you do that? Just to remind you that you want to pay attention to everybody you meet. What are they doing? Are they really trying to help other people, or are they really trying to find help for themselves? Are they self-serving, or are they serving others? You're going to find the people that are the best at serving others. They are the big winners in life. Figure out how you can improve the service you're rendering. Now, I'm probably a little older than you, so I've been running around the park for quite a bit longer than you. And I have learned one thing really well in life, that my success, my happiness is going to be dependent on how good I get at serving you or serving other people. I spend most of my time trying to figure out how to help other people. I do. I don't spend much time. You know, I get almost everything I want. Almost everything I want. There's very few things, I can't even think of anything I want. Christmas, birthday comes along, well, I don't know. Send a donation in my name. I don't want anything. And it's got to a point where I just want to serve others. That's all I want to do, is serve others. Now, I'm a pretty happy guy, pretty healthy guy, pretty wealthy guy. What have I done? I have just learned how to fall in love with the idea of serving other people. Our company's success is going to be dependent upon how many people we can serve and how well we serve them. We have a phenomenal staff of people in Proctor Gallagher Institute. I choose to believe that we have, I just love our staff. We have some of the most phenomenal people. And we've got people coming, like we have a guy, Tommy Collier. The guy is a creative genius. He came, he wanted to come to work with us. I said, you want to work with us? I thought, wow, guy's so good. You will attract good people if that's all you want to do. Just serve other people. That's what we do. And we've got everybody in the company. That's where they're going. We got some pretty happy people, very successful people. And all we did is focus on serving other people. Companies that are enjoying the most success, they're the ones that provide the most and best service. This is the way it works. It always has worked that way. And I'm inclined to believe that it always will work that way. Fall in love with the idea of serving others. You'll be very happy, but you'll also be very successful.
How do we reshape our self-image to serve us as opposed to bring us down?
Well, it's interesting. Maxwell Maltz actually discovered self-image as we know it today. He was a cosmetic surgeon, and he found if he operated on a person, maybe they had a distasteful scar in their face, and he removed the scar, he said, sometimes there was a phenomenal change in the person's personality. But he said other times they'd remove the scar, it was very successful, no change in their personality. That led him to postulate that we not only have this physical image that reflects back from the mirror, we have an inner image of ourselves. It's how we see ourselves.
Right.
Now, that inner image is an idea, and that idea is generally planted in our little life when we're infants. And it's planted by virtue of the environment that we're surrounded by, how we're raised. If a child's raised with praise, they're going to grow up very confident individuals. If a child's raised with criticism, they're going to grow up very insecure. So you see this image that we have, it's a picture of how we see ourselves, but most of us, that image was planted by people that didn't know what the hell was going on. They didn't know the war was over, and they were developing a little mind. It was a mind. They were shaping it like fresh clay. They didn't understand that. It was a kid, they're looking after him, we feed him, we keep him warm, what the hell? That's our responsibility. No, it was a mind, and they were developing that mind. And if they didn't understand, what were they going to put in? Well, all they could give to the child is the insecurities that they had themselves. So that was the picture that the kid grows up of themselves. Now, I grew up very insecure. I was born during the Depression. When I first went to school, the Second World War had just broken out, so everybody's rationed for everything. It was hard times. All the men were away fighting in Europe or South Pacific. There was no men doing anything. The women that were there were driving the trucks. They were cops. They did everything. So there wasn't a whole lot of time used for developing a little mind. So I just grew up and picked up what I could. And I grew up very insecure. It wasn't until I met a man that gave me this book and gave me some damn good instruction that I started to pay attention to who I was. And I have never stopped being fascinated with studying me.
Yeah.
I am the most fascinating subject that I've ever come across. And I have found out that you and I are exactly the same. We only appear to be different. Our physical body looks different. We choose different vocations. Some earns more or less than the other. But our potential is exactly the same. We both live in a physical body. We both have these higher mental faculties. We're both spiritual beings. We both draw on an infinite source of supply. We're the same. So the trick, I think, for the person that has insecurities, that hasn't got the strongest image they want, they should find a damn good mentor. That's what changed my life.
People have regrets. I mean, if you want to go to a nursing home and just feel that for a minute, if you look into their eyes, you can see there's regret.
Well, most people do, but most people don't do anything. You see, I often say,
how do you do something?
well, there's where the goals come in. That's where the purpose for life comes in. You got to have a main purpose. You got to have a purpose for life. And you've got to have meaningful goals. They've got to be meaningful. You're trading your life for it. Like I often say in a seminar, I want you to imagine you're at the end of the road. And you know you're at the end of the road. Your body's so weak, they've got you tied in a wheelchair. Or they've got you in a crib bed. So you don't fall out, kill yourself.
Right.
Just imagine, all you can do is relive your life. I want you to imagine you're there and you go back and think, God, I wonder if we had moved there, what would have happened? If we had started that company, remember we were going to sell the house and start that company. If we had done this, I wonder what would have happened. And then, God, if I could only do it over again. I said, wouldn't that be terrible? Spend the last days of your life like that? Wouldn't it be better if you look back and say, wow, what a trip. God, I remember we did that. Remember, we blew our brains out on that. We lost everything we had. But you know, when you lose it big enough, it can be accelerating. And then we did this. And what you're doing is laying there and you're reliving your whole life.
And that's the goal.
Got to have the goal.
I'm always asked, how do you stay so young? And I tell them I don't hang around old people. And I said that, I think, sort of as a joke one time, but then I realized it was no joke. It's the truth. I don't mix with anybody my age. I'm 85 years old in July. So I was born in 1934. That's a long time ago. I don't go by age of anything. I've become aware that age is, it's a number. And it has nothing to do with who we are, what we're going to do. And when we clearly understand that, our life will change. You know, the idea of 65 for retirement is pretty well accepted worldwide. And it was accepted by Otto von Bismarck when he was Chancellor of Germany. Somebody said, you know, we should have an age where people can stop working, the government just send them a check. He said, that's a hell of a good idea. So he just arbitrarily picked 65. Well, a number of years later, when they were going to do it in America, they said, is anybody doing that? And they said, I think they're doing it in Germany. What age? 65. And it's accepted. 65 is the age of retirement. Why would we want to retire at all? See, I see retire as pull back from life. That's what it means. Why would we want to do that? I never want to do it. I never want to retire. I think that would be a despicable thing to do. When people go into forced retirement and nothing flat, they're dead. You see, we're not made for work. Work is made for us. And when we clearly understand that, I think things start to change for us. I think people should ask themselves, how old would they be if they forgot their age? If I forgot my age, I think I'd be around 48, maybe not even 50, 47, 48, maybe 46. I like the late 40s. I think they're good years. I think that's how old I'd be. And I lived like that's where I am. The idea of slowing down, or that's just so foreign to my way of thinking. I don't think that way. And the idea of retirement, it'll never happen to me. I'm going to go full tilt right until the show's over. That's my attitude towards it. I don't hang around old people. Most old people are old people. And they talk about old things, you know, and they're reminiscing all the time. We ought to believe that we're creative beings and there's nowhere we haven't gone that we can't go. So let's get up and get moving. That's my attitude on age. Love is the greatest thing. Love what you do. I went to visit Earl Nightingale one time, way back in the 60s. I'll never forget it. And I was leaving. I was so grateful. I had an hour of his time. And I said, Earl, what's the real secret? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, he said, there isn't any big deal, Bob. There isn't any secret. It's simply a matter of sitting down and determining what you really love to do and then make a decision to dedicate your life to it. Man, did I get excited. He said, the problem with most people is they don't know what to do and they never make a decision to dedicate their life to anything. I got so jazzed. I knew exactly what I would love doing. I would love to do what he was doing. I made up my mind I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it with him. And I made up my mind I would make a commitment to that for the rest of my life. You know something? That's exactly what I've done. I love what I'm doing. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, when you love doing something, you'll run, baby, and you won't get weary. You'll walk and you won't get tired. You know why? You're a free flow. The energy is just freely flowing through you. You are the greatest instrument then that God's got. You're here to do God's work. What's God's work? God's work is creation. God's the creator. You're creating God's image. You've been given creative faculties. Fall in love with what you do, and you'll be creating great stuff wherever you go. Love what you do. Love the people that you're working with. Fall in love with the idea of love. We do live in an ocean of motion. The dynamic law of life is create or disintegrate. You're never going to stay where you are. Following what we're teaching, you're going to create. It's a beautiful part. So we're looking at our results and we're saying, but this is where I really want to go. And we point to a star that we're shooting at. And we make a decision, that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, everybody does that. And 90-some% say, when this improves, then I'm going to do that. Do you know, it'll never happen. It will never happen because you're not on the right frequency. And you see what happens here, pretty soon the decision fades. And when it fades, so does the goal. The goal disappears. Somebody said, I thought you were working. Yeah, well, I am. I'm still working at it. Do you know what the problem is? You're thinking on the wrong frequency. You see, your thought is down here on the frequency that you're living on. But the way to do what you want to do is not on that frequency. Clearly understand this. All science and all theology, the only two sources of reference we have to go to, tell us nothing is created or destroyed. The way to do anything is already here. Space travel, we've always been able to do it. We just weren't aware of how. You know the neat little cell phones we've got that pretty soon will be obsolete? We've always been able to do that. I remember back when we had the party lines. Hardly anybody had a phone. Then when they got one, they got a party line. Everybody's on the line. We were able to build beautiful little cell phones then. Do you know the cell phone you've got has more power as a computer than the computer that took the first rocket to the moon? It's magnificent when you think of what we're doing. And it's all in awareness. And that's what you're developing. You're developing awareness. See, the awareness to do everything is already here, but you've got to get on the frequency that it operates on, because everything operates on a frequency. If you phoned your Uncle Harry, you wouldn't expect your mother to answer the phone. Why? Because you dialed Harry's number. You got on Harry's frequency. That's what the number is. It's a frequency. And there's a zillion of them. We know there's an infinite number of frequencies. Everything you want is already here. What you have to do is attract it. And you know something? You're going to learn how to do that. You see, what we really have to do, we need to make a paradigm shift. We're programmed to operate the way we're operating. Why would 97 or 95% of the population keep using a losing formula? They don't know they are. They're giving it everything they've got. We had to shift our thinking. We got to shift the paradigm. Do you know many of the beliefs and the ideas that are controlling your decision-making right now? They were established by some great-grandparent who lived in a different time. But all that stuff is passed down in the genes. It's called genetic conditioning. We got to change that. You see, while you're thinking way down here on this lower frequency, the way to do what you want to do is way up here on a higher frequency. And what's required is a committed decision. A committed decision is when you do it regardless. And when you make a committed decision, this is what I'm going to do. You flip your brain onto that higher frequency, and the way is shown. Now we're going to talk about your sixth sense, your intuitive mind, because that's how it comes to you. You're tapping into universal intelligence. That's what all highly successful people do. Whether they know they're doing it or not is irrelevant. But that's what they're doing. That's what you're going to learn how to do. I'm going to share something with you that could change the course of your life, could make everything so much better. To do this, to explain it properly, I'm going to tell you a little story. It goes way back 57 years. A man gave me this book. He said, Bob, do exactly what I tell you, and you can have anything you want. Now, when he said that, I was flat broke. I had $6,000 in debt. I was only earning $4,000 a year. The prospects of things getting better were pretty slim. I had 2 months high school formal education. I had absolutely no business experience. I was not in a good spot. But he said, listen, there are all reasons why you can't win, Bob. He said, if you do what I tell you and study this book, is you're going to figure out how you can. Now, this is Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. He spent his whole life studying 500 of the world's most successful individuals, and he found there was a golden thread running through their life, and that's what's in this book. I've never stopped reading it. I then found a condensed narration of the book by Earl Nightingale, where Earl took and he condensed the whole thing and he put it on a long playing record. And I would listen to that and listen to it and listen to it. In fact, I had started my own company and I used to play the records to the salespeople every morning. Well, one morning, it was very early, just finished the sales meeting, just finished playing Earl's record. And I said at the end of the meeting, I said, man, I'd really love to meet him. One of the salespeople said, no, you wouldn't. I said, what do you mean I wouldn't? He said, if you really wanted to meet him, you'd go and meet him. And I thought, you know something, you're right. I got on the phone and I got an appointment with Earl Nightingale. Now that wasn't an easy thing to do. Earl was the most listened to man in the history of the broadcasting industry at the time. Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant started the Nightingale-Conant Corporation, who literally started the personal development business as we know it today in recorded fashion. He was considered the dean of personal motivation. There was probably a couple of million people that would have loved to sat down with him. But I got the appointment. At the end of the meeting, I had a wonderful time there. When I was leaving, I said, Earl, what is the big deal? What is the real secret of life to making things happen? Well, he said, there isn't any secret to success, Bob. He said, it's a simple matter of figuring out what you absolutely love to do and then make a decision to dedicate your life to it. Then every day you're going to be doing what you love to do. He said, the problem with most people is they never decide what they love to do and they don't make a decision to dedicate their life to anything. They just go from one thing to the next. The law of rhythm is a law. We have a biorhythm. We go up and down. We live simultaneously on three planes. We're triune beings. We're spiritual, intellectual, and physical. Well, all three is on a rhythm cycle. And we have critical highs and critical lows. That's when all three parts of us are on a critical high, all three parts of us on a very low. Do you know there's airlines that will not let their pilots fly when they're on a critical low? They won't let them fly. They just ground them. You can have this charted. I have people come up and ask me questions sometimes. I know what they want to do. They want to chart my rhythm cycle. And I give them the dates and the things they want. But when they bring it to me, I don't pay any attention to it. I don't want to know that I'm on a low swing. I want to know that I am in control of me, and I don't care whether I'm on a low swing or a high swing. I don't even make it good because I'm going to look for the good in it. So we understand that. There's that time of the month, you know. That's not just for the girls, that's for the boys too, because that is a rhythm cycle in life, and it affects all three parts. There's going to be parts when you're on a very high intellectually. You have a column of figures, boom, like that, you add them up. Another time you add up that column, you have to add it up 6 times, you get a different answer every time. You're on a low swing intellectually. There's sometimes when you're on a low swing emotionally. You walk down the street and nothing's going right. There's other days you walk down, you're skipping with the kids, you're singing with the birds, you're on a high. That's a rhythm process of life. But you know, the truth is your spiritual DNA is perfect. We hear a lot of talk about DNA today. Well, if you get past all the nonsense that's been programmed into our subconscious mind from genetics and in our environment, and get right down to the core of who you really are, your spiritual DNA is perfect. And it's that perfection that's seeking expression with and through us. That's why we want things. It doesn't matter what we're doing, we want more. Now, as a little boy, I was taught by my grandmother, who pretty well raised me, that you should be satisfied with what you've got. Grandma was a dear woman. She was like an angel of God, but she was wrong. We should never be satisfied with what we've got. We should be happy with what we've got, but never satisfied. You see, dissatisfaction is a creative state for our mind to move into. It causes us to want to do more. We should ask ourselves where those wants come from. Do you know it's that perfection within that keeps jabbing you in the consciousness? Want this, want that. If you're running, you want to run faster. If you're jumping, you want to jump higher. If you're selling, you want to sell more. If you're singing, you want to sing a better tune. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. You want to do it better. And the beautiful part of this is you can. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. You know those quotes that you read from time to time that tell you just how phenomenal you are? They're all true. Do you know when you get talking about the positive aspects of you and what you're capable of, you cannot exaggerate. You cannot. Yep, we just take a look at what's going on around us in the world. Look at a plane taking off. Go back and think of what the Wright brothers did. They had that flimsy little thing, but they got it up and they kept it up for about 14 seconds. They did it. Everything's been improved from that point because we keep expanding our awareness.
It's the same with the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the conveniences we have in our home. Understand that everything you see, it was always here in one state or in another. Somebody thought it. And because you can think it, because you got the idea, you could do it. It's not who you are that's holding you back. It's who you think you're not. Self-confidence is the first requisite to great undertakings. I was saying last night, before I did that conference over in Orlando, I can remember the first half-decent sized audience I ever spoke to. I was a basket case. I was so nervous. And somebody asked me yesterday, just before I went on, were you nervous? This is not at all. I'm very relaxed. And I had to ask myself, or I thought I was relaxed because of the awareness I've developed over the years, all the things I've studied that I understand better. And it's this knowledge that gives you the confidence. Confidence comes from knowledge. People say they don't have any confidence. It's not true. They do have confidence. You're confident you can drive your car. You're confident you can get dressed and put your makeup on or shave. You're confident you can do all these things. See, confidence comes with knowledge. And if you're looking at something you don't have any confidence, understand you can develop confidence. All you have to do is gather some more knowledge about it. It's the first requisite of great undertakings. It's true. At a very early age, we put a cap on awareness, and then we say, now it's all about the intellect. And so we've got lessons in school, and you got to remember what's in the book, and if you pass the test, you get the degree. There's all kinds of people walking out of schools with degrees. They're going crazy by degrees, and yet they can't find work. They're broke. You got people that have a doctorate in economics, and they're broke. How could that happen? Because they don't know how to use the information they've gathered. I think we should be thinking about the greatness, like it's the school of greatness. I think we ought to be thinking about the greatness that we've got locked up within us and bring it to the surface. Everyone has deep reservoirs of talent and ability within them, and they can bring it to the surface to accomplish anything they want. Now, to sit in fear and wonder what's going to happen, that is a dumb waste of your talent and your time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what most of the media is promoting right now. To believe in fear is to believe in something you can't see. To believe in faith is to believe in something you can't see. Well, if you have a choice, I think I'd choose faith over fear.
Absolutely.
I think I believe where I can really see something happen. I believe we're going to have a phenomenal year in our company.
Wow.
In fact, I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher, and a very bright lady, was a securities attorney prior to joining us. She ran a program this morning for our entire company. We have about 70 people in the company. She was teaching masterminding to them all and saying how this is important, that every one of us get involved in this, that we learn the basics of masterminding, that Napoleon Hill brought to the world, let's say, way back in the 30s. Now, I think that's what we should be teaching people. Sandy was on the right track there. So I think we ought to be thinking about what we're going to build. How big are we going to do it? Where are we going to do it? When are we going to start? Our goals have not changed. They're very big. They're very ambitious. And we're not letting this virus slow us down one bit.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're trying to figure out how can we use this to speed it up.
There you go.
It's here and you can't get rid of it. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
There is a way we can use it to our advantage. People are more dependent upon the phone. I've got a computer here. They're dependent on their phone, their computer, more than they've ever been. We can reach them anywhere in the world through those mediums.
Because you made it this far in the video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Michael A. Singer, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
This whole thing about abundance and attracting to yourself what it is that you want and how to use mantras and spirituality to make sure you have what you want. True spirituality is about not wanting. It's about being filled with joy from inside.